All right. Welcome everybody to our webinar, Infor CloudSuite for Food and Beverage Manufacturing. Today's webinar is hosted and presented by LeanSwift Solutions and Mr. Johan Axelsson. LeanSwift is an Infor Alliance partner, and Mr. Johan Axelsson is the founder and the president of LeanSwift Solutions, and he has over 25 years experience with Infor ERP. And he has been working with the system in many different levels, both at management levels and technical detailed levels as well. So without further delay, Mr. Johan Axelsson, the stage is yours.
Thank you, Caroline. Okay, so thanks everyone for joining in today. I think we have a little bit of mix today of some people who have some background and familiarity with Infor, and some of you are brand new. So just to set the stage a little bit and describe to you what we will be covering today, that today's agenda now is focus on the CloudSuite Food and Beverage, and looking at some of the functionality available in this CloudSuite solution and why this is a really good fit for the food and beverage industry. So everything that when looking at a solution like this, we need to look a little bit backwards to see where is this solution coming from, and even more important, where is this solution going. So the CloudSuite Food and Beverage, I mean, it wasn't born yesterday. This solution has been around for a while. It has been through a number of transformations, and it has a lot of deep food and beverage functionality that has been developed over the years. As you can see, some of the versions, if we go way back in time here, time moved slower back in the days, and we have a need today of having access to new functionality at a much more rapid pace. So the release cycles have been shortened, and I think this is really critical. This is something that's very important for all of you out there that's looking for a new ERP solution today, is to think of agility. How much will the new solution going to be able to support my future business, and not just focusing on the business that you have today. So what used to be on-premise, text-based or client-server to browser-based solutions today are all cloud-based, and there are some great benefits of this that comes with the cloud deployment. Cloud deployment is one thing; multi-tenant is another really important aspect of this. So, as you saw on the timeline here, Infor as a company, they had a new management team coming in 2010, and we cannot underestimate the importance of this. So, as you can see, what this has done to Infor as a company. This is important for all of us as partners and as customers as well, because what Infor has done since 2010, they have just poured in investments in product development. And this is something that we today, as partners and customers and users, you can see the result of this. And of course, the result for Infor has been showing on an annual and quarterly basis. So growing from a revenue of 73 million to 2.8 billion. And what we're seeing today, this is just the starting phase for Infor. So Coke Industries, they invested, they saw the transformation that Infor is going through. They invested 2.5 billion into Infor. And even more important, when they look at what the CloudSuite is offering today, Coke Industries are also deploying the cloud solutions for 110,000 users worldwide. So if you guys want to get the same competitive advantages that Coke Industries is getting, this is a solution that you need to look into at more detail. And when looking at the cloud, how cloud changes everything, I mean, you've all heard the stories, of course, of that's going to cut your cost. We don't need to have our infrastructure team in place. I mean, none of you really run on-premise physical servers anymore. So we started with virtualizing servers. And this, when we're taking the ERP solutions to the cloud, to CloudSuite, the cost saving is an important part. But again, from LeanSwift, we want to stress that the most important thing that this is going to give you in the future is agility. You will have access to new functionality at a much more rapid pace than you've had in the past, which is going to make you more competitive. And that's all this is about staying competitive and staying one step ahead of your competition. So a couple of Infor customers that have been doing this in the past: J.R. Watkins, food and beverage customer, a combination actually of food and beverage and chemicals, so everything from dish soap to a lot of food and beverage products like baking vanilla is one of the top sellers. So they have seen that the benefits of being more agile, being more competitive, and have been able to expand and transition the business from being an old 100 plus year old business to really be a leading brand. So what are they using today? And what does this look like? So instead of just showing you PowerPoint, we're going to dive right into the product. I want to give you a little bit of an idea of the look and feel of the solution. So as you can see, the solution is all browser based. I'm running this in my Chrome browser. We have a start page. The start page is responsive. So if I would change this and run this on my tablet or on my phone, you see how it automatically reshapes. The start page is going to look the way you want it to look. We add widgets to this start page. So every different role will have, right now I'm a customer service role with a start page that has been designed for customer service. So just want to highlight a few of the things that you can expect from a cloud solution like the CloudSuite Food and Beverage. So the responsiveness, I'm going to dive into, take a little bit look at customers and just using get an idea of what it looks like to work with these customers. So if I'd go take a look at all customers, I have a shortcut, links me to a list of customers from a functionality point of view, anything that you normally would expect from searching, finding, filtering information. You have the possibility as a role when we're doing the implementation to define sorting orders, views of what information should be displayed depending on the different roles and what information they would like to have access to. Anywhere in the solution now we can, as a user, if you would allow your users, you could say, well, that was what was delivered to me from the implementation team, but I would like to I'd like to see some additional address information. So if you would like to, as a user, you can say, well, I'd like to add some additional information. Saving this up to a maximum of 250 characters. As a user, exporting to Excel, any browse list, you want to export just what's selected, or do you want to export all the rows? So bring down this information to further work on. So downloading, uploading information to Excel works fine. So if I drive in to take a look at some of the detailed information for one particular customer, the information now, the solution has vast functionality, but the solution that you're going to see now is tailored for cloud, for food and beverage specifically. And still, if there's some information that you're not using, we will personalize this so we can decide ourselves if we're not using organization number 2, well then that's not going to be part of the solution anymore. We're simply going to hide those fields. And this can be done on a user level, it can be done on an administrator's level. So moving back to the previous screen, highlighting some information. If I am now looking at, you have a list of customers, searching, finding, filtering information, highlighting. So you've seen anything now that is, I just want to highlight any customers that are tagged for this particular salesperson. So we can also add conditional style information. And on the conditional styles, highlighting that I'd like to have this color information, etc. So making it easier for your users to find information, display exactly what they need when they need this. If the core functionality is not sufficient, we can continue to add some scripting functionality on top of the core. Looking at customers' orders, searching, finding, filtering. So if I go into, I'm diving back into to customer orders instead of customers. Highlighting, we can make some filter functionality. So I created some filters on the right where I can see what I only would like to see orders that are specific for this week or for this month or for this year. So whatever relationship you would like to create yourselves. So the filtering can be very specific, and we can use some functions like, in this case, the filter functionality for this particular month. So user experience is really tailor-made to give you the user experience that is fit for this particular role. And I think some of these things is kind of what you expect out of the box, right? It's not groundbreaking. What Infor is then be doing is taking this to the next step of saying, well, when you're working today, I mean, we need to collaborate. We need to have a collaboration with our colleagues, with our partners, with our vendors, and with our customers. So for internal collaboration, there's a collaboration functionality where I'm anywhere in the solution. If I need to reach out to one of my colleagues, so I was looking at one of our customers, and I reached out to my colleague Paulie and said, "Hey, Paulie, can you take a look at this customer and help with the credit limit?" So Paulie received this in a feed. I will see the same thing in my feed that I've been posting to someone else, with a link that will drive him directly back to that specific customer, into that where that information was available, and this was the credit limit that I was asking Paulie to take a look at. So not just using the standard functionality of the system, but really making it possible for me to collaborate with my colleagues, and that is regardless now if this is related to specific data in the system, to a transaction, to an order, to an invoice. So when it comes to documents, if I take a look at, we have a documents, the solution comes with a full-blown document management system. In the document management system, you can store any types of documents that you would like. So we can have some product images. So uploading, storing product images in the document archive, storing information like customer invoices, of course, proof of delivery documents. And once I've found my document, any type of document can have an unlimited number of document attributes. Document attributes are searchable. You can search and filter, and we can relate to these attributes. So however you would like to search and find or filter or relate to any of the attributes on this document is made available. So I could say, well, I would like now to sort these on create a date and on ascending to pick up the latest invoice. So apart now from using this in the document archive, if I go back to my products and take a look at some of these products that we have, I think I had a product called SB0 or something. I'm going to search and filter. And we have a possibility to bring up related information. So if I look at my turmeric or my nutmeg or my salt, that can be a product image. It can also be any COA documentation, testing documentation when it comes to orders, proof of delivery, order acknowledgements, invoice documents, etc. related to it. So it's all at your user's top of the fingertips, all included out of the package. So that's just want to give you a bit of an idea of what your user experience. And of course, wherever you go, full functionality when it comes to help text functionality. So if I'm looking at my procurement group and I'm a bit uncertain about what is procurement group, well, this is how procurement groups should be used in the system. And if I would like to get some more generic help and online help, so for those of you who would like to get a jump start to take a look at that CloudSuite solution, it's available at docs.infor.com. And if I'm looking at warehouse, for instance, finding anything in the system that is related to defining a warehouse structure, etc. So really good information available for us to be able to extend and learn and browse and use this. With a BI tool, plenty of functionality. But the idea here was to give you an idea of the user experience. So when it comes to specific functionality that you want to use, formulation, super critical, right? For all of us in the food and beverage industry. So formulation has two parts. We got the R&D side, and then we have the formula management when it comes to the actual production side of the house. So from an R&D point of view, the CloudSuite has a full-blown PLM solution for product development. So in this, we can define a project, and during this project have multiple iterations, testing or building out a new recipes or formulas, and our recipes then, as they are defined, as they are finalized, it's seamlessly integrated now between my PLM solution and my ERP solution, both available in the cloud. This has been a tremendous help for our customers now to be able to track and to track all recipe development, version handling, etc. So once we have that developed, making sure we can go back and forth either internally or communicating with our customers for customer-specific formulation or recipes. So once we have this now released, well, what if we need to release a new version? Like, we can have new regulations constantly being brought upon us that we need to consider and update with version handling. So it could be that we need to improve the output, we need to reduce cost, we need to change some of the ingredients in our recipes, or we have some new process equipment. So that's one, we can then say, well, this new version of the recipe is going to take place November 1st, December 1st, when these new regulations come into play. We can also define alternate processes, alternate when we're doing the production. What if we have optional different ways of planning this, of planning our production? So kind of highlighting this in an overview saying that, well, if we have new regulations that come into play, for instance, at the beginning of 2017, if I had an older version, I have a new version 2 that will automatically come into effect on January 1st. When I do a new development of a new recipe, well, that's going to be a version 1 and version handling going forward for all of my recipes. We can also define processes when, if I had, well, this is my winter process and my summer process, depending on the humidity considerations, or simply for me to just have alternate processes to use my equipment in alternate ways. So having full support for both formulation and then tracking using the formulas seamlessly throughout the production cycle is critical. Attribute management. This is the super important functionality, and this will solve a lot of your business requirements. So for most products, if you define a product, you have, for cheese, has some different attribute constraints or attributes that we would like to track. Grains, another one, beer, a third one. And CloudSuite Food and Beverage comes with an unlimited number of attributes. So this means, and it doesn't mean that we just track these attributes, we actually use these attributes in planning, in allocation, in inventory control. So you will define whatever attributes are specific for your process. And then we can make sure that only products, only lot numbers that fulfill your requirements will be allocated to a specific customer order. So what does this look like? Again, just flipping back really quick to take a look at some of the product attributes. And if we look at them, some of the attribute models, so we can define an attribute model. Let me hide that on the side. So I have an attribute model now. We have some details in this, and we can define for this particular type of product that I want to work with now. Well, we need to track moisture. We need to track if we have E. coli or Salmonella. We need to track yeast and mold. Should this be controlled, the lot master? Should this be used for planning? Should it be used for costing? So it's not just keeping track of the information. It's also actually being used for controlling the flow in the solution. So if I open up now and take a look at, here's couple of my products available in this particular warehouse. You can see in this, they are located in this particular location in the warehouse. This is the lot number. We have the available on-hand balance, and we've defined a surface color, with extractable color, if it should be roasted or not, Scoville units. So whatever attributes you would like to define is going to be supported. And this, again, will solve a lot of your business requirements specifically for this industry. So attribute management, if you have any questions on this, feel free to reach out and we'll be happy to discuss what kind of business requirements this can solve. Item packaging, sorry for me to just moving forward pretty quick now, but where there's a lot of, just want to give you a highlight of some of the functions and features that makes this a really good cloud suite for food and beverage. So when it comes to packaging, a lot of you have bulk production and we have consumer packaging. So in doing this, there's full support for one, we can do demand on consumer packaging, and this demand is being aggregated back to the bulk. We can also do planning of saying, well, based on this demand, we've now decided we could do 2,000 instead of 3,000. And if we would over or under dimension our bulk production, depending on our decisions, well, that is being brought forward and so we see the effect directly in the consumer packaging. So this means that the solution now manages formulations, routings, so the recipe management, both on the bulk side, on the consumer packaging side, packaging materials, and the connectivity, of course, between the items, the item packs and the bulk. So full lot traceability, of course, all the way back to from the bulk to the consumer packaging. Planning and scheduling. A lot of you in the process industry, you have tanks, and we need to do some tank planning and tank scheduling and making sure that we don't overuse some of the, if we have some constraints, if I can only use so much of this production capacity, whatever PSI, if I have some limitations in how much water or any other type of ingredients that I want to use in my production, those constraints can be considered when it comes to planning and scheduling, blending the batches. So we will get an optimized planning schedule based on any constraints that you have. So we're checking the inflow, checking the outflow. The item pack now flows from the tank directly to the item pack that we just looked at. So that gives us the production capacity, and then we can continue to visualize this and calculate to plan with a fresh food planner for those of you that have some constraints of saying, well, we would need to process some of these to prioritize some of these production based on the ingredients that I'm getting in. So if I need to produce if I have my milk coming in today, I need to have the milk being routed through and prioritized, and then we can continue to maybe do some of the cheese manufacturing as a secondary priorities. So the fresh food planner is the detailed planner for us, considering shelf life for some of these products. What about on the finance side? Well, some of you that we've talked to the finance department, anything else is just a pre-system to finally get to finance, right? So full support for product costing, multi-unit coordination, super important for a lot of our customers today, because a lot of our customers now, they have multiple facilities, multiple divisions, multiple warehouses. We need to be able to plan, produce, and track all the costs between our different divisions, facilities, and warehouses. So the CloudSuite Food and Beverage, we can do a corporate consolidation on the top. We can define an indefinite number of divisions where we have each division has its P&L. We can do costing on facility level, and this is something that most systems do not support, that for us to do costing on facility level. What this means that I can be doing an internal distribution from one warehouse to another warehouse, and I can have one cost on the product in this warehouse, and as I do the distribution to my second warehouse, we can have a change in the costing and add a costing overhead, for instance, for that. There can be a standard cost in one facility, average costing in another facility. So this gives us a full flexibility for costing, for consolidation, and the multi-unit coordination also means that if you have sister companies, all transactions between the sister companies will be managed by the system behind the scenes. No need to create a purchase order in one of your divisions, sending that over to a sister division that creates a customer order. We simply do a distribution, and all the financial transactions are being taken care of behind the scenes automatically. Compliance, quality management, a super important topic for the industry as a whole. So remember the PLM system that we talked about early on? This is the PLM solution now, also has its drives the spec sheets, the labels, making sure that we do correct labeling, that we don't have any peanuts or any ingredients in our, and whatever we have, it will make sure that our consumer packaged goods do have the correct labeling. So no Infor PLM customer has ever had a labeling recall. Makes you sleep well at night. So we remember the attributes that we talked about. We can use these attributes again now to make sure that we are compliant. We can use attributes to make sure that we follow our internal specs, our customer specs, FDA specifications. So that's just one start of it. And then the electronic signatures, so the CFR Part 11 electronic signatures as well. I just wanted to highlight again the compliance. So if we now come back to my favorite product that I used a little bit ago, my CP4729 chili pepper. Well, that particular chili pepper now had some product attributes that we defined. So this product attribute now needs to meet some specifications, and my specification, you define this yourselves on what should be the expected mean and the expected max. So when it comes to quality assurance, we decided the granulation and the volatile oil percentage should be two things that we need to track and quality assure to meet these particular specifications. That could be internal, that could be an external specification. And remember again that whatever testing we do, we can have different specifications for different purposes. So some customers have a wider range than other customers. So we can make sure also then that the correct lot numbers based on specification are allocated to the right customer order without manual intervention. How's that for efficiency, huh? So once you do the shipping, lot tracking and traceability. So once we've shipped it, we need to keep track of exactly what was the ingredients that went into this batch, this bulk, and if this bulk now is ended up in item packs and consumer packaging, we still have full traceability both from the ingredients point of view or to the consumer delivery. So if you, for any reason, would have one of your suppliers would say, hey, we have a recall on these ingredients, your full traceability, which bulk that ingredient was went into. And from that, if you made distribution to multiple of your facilities and multiple warehouses and to multiple customers, or vice versa, when you start tracking it from a consumer that has a consumer complaint, we can full traceability of all the ingredients and where that came from. So that traceability is going to be critical for you going forward. Analysis, of course, everything that you've seen so far now can be visualized. We have built-in reports, analysis, but I'd like to stress this, instead of just being reactive reports and analysis, we can also now drive monitors and alerts. And you saw how I reached out to my colleague with collaboration and said, well, can you help me with taking a look at this customer where we had an issue with the credit limit? Well, monitors and alerts means that we can activate a monitor and alert so we don't have to go in and look for information. The system can actually trigger an alert and let you know about any exceptions. Do you have a test result that you need to focus and get back to, that you need that would require some action. So the system makes you proactive instead of reactive. So the use of analysis, now we eliminate a lot of the looking into reports that you've done in the past, because the system's going to tell you what you need to focus. So that was scraping the surface a little bit on functionality available in CloudSuite Food and Beverage. I didn't have time to get into catch weight management, sub-lot tracking, customer portals, how your customers can visualize this for your customers, and they can do self-service as well. But Caroline, there's only so much time and so much stuff we can fit into 30 minutes.
Johan, you did a fantastic job. I know this is a lot to take in, and I think you did a great job covering so much. But of course, there's still more to cover. there will be a recording of this webinar if you guys want to come back and revisit the presentation, or if you want to send out to your team and talk and collaborate on what was just presented. And of course, we will also do a separate presentation for anyone that would like to do so. So, and also any questions, send them to us. You have the email addresses on this screen right here. Thank you everybody for joining in today. Thank you, Johan. And we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you all. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.